welcome. Thank you for inviting me to speak, and good to connect again to the Dr. Healer Network. Yeah, so today is about the universe inside you, your connection to the cosmos. We're going to be talking about the many findings that are happening in cosmology and astrophysics at the moment, and how it relates to you. So this is a new kind of vision of how the universe actually works. You've probably seen the headlines that there's been lots of sort of space exploration recently, and we've had images being back from space of various things. This really is a new era for space exploration. Even people are talking about colonizing Mars and that sort of thing. And we're even getting things like this, like black hole images. You've probably seen the headlines, even though there was a new story even last week or two about they finally imaged the black hole in the middle of the Milky Way. So black holes are supposed to be these guzzling monsters that even take in all the light around them, so that there's, they're completely black. But again, you can even see on this image that something interesting is happening, because there's this glow, seems to be this glow around the black hole. And furthermore, this is the original black hole that they imaged, I think 2019. They don't seem to be that black. So they actually give off jets. So this is a famous black hole, and they're about 99% the speed of light. So this is a bit that doesn't get the headlines as much. And you see these two jets of high energy material being spewed from the black hole. But what is going on? Because the way that they say it is that, well, everything has been gobbled up, and as it's being gobbled up, it suddenly spews out, some people call it burping, spews out material at nearly the speed of light. But no real explanation is given for why something that's supposed to be so gravitationally strong that it takes in everything around it. This is a traditional picture of black holes. It guzzles everything around it, even neighboring galaxies in this particular picture. So why would something not behave in that? Why are black holes actually giving off light? So in this presentation, we're going to talk about a new vision of the cosmos, something that fits the true observations of the universe, and it links everything from the level of the macro with the micro. And that's including, as we'll go on, the universe inside you, that a new sort of creative paradigm for what's going on inside your own energy field. So where it really started for me, I was really exploring quantum physics, that sort of thing, looking at the science of spirituality, science of consciousness. And but it led me up to looking at cosmology, and in particular, this story about microquasars. I think it was a New Scientist, and it was saying that microquasars, which basically they were describing as mini versions of quasars, so these very, very bright objects in space, that apparently have black holes associated with them. And they give off sort of electrons at nearly the speed of light in narrow jets, positrons, which are the antimatter particles of electrons, and also gamma rays. And these sort of are not given off all the time, but are given off from time to time. And I was thinking, well, if there's a black hole there, why would all these things be given off? The black hole's supposed to be sucking everything around it. Also, in this article, it said if you can understand what's going on with microquasars, which have a sort of smaller black hole associated with them, then we can understand black holes at all sorts of different levels. So I had a kind of like, as if you read my book Punk Science, you'll know that I had a Eureka moment in the woods walking with a dog, and suddenly realized it was kind of shown to me really in a vision. Well, not so much a vision as seeing into the universe to see how the universe works. And I started to realize that we got it all wrong, that actually black holes are the creative forces of the universe. And what happens is there's a singularity and a point of infinity that is beyond our normal perception. So I read on the universe in terms of the speed of light, which we normally see as the limitation of our universe, is actually the limitation of three-dimensional perception. So I've called that the perception horizon. And then when you go beyond the perception horizon, that's where all the dark energy and dark matter is. So our creation process from the black hole happens when you've got the infinity at the center, the light spirals through higher dimensions. We know the universe is of many dimensions from string theory and things like that. And then it gets to the edge of our reality at that speed of light perception horizon point. And then the light splits into the positron antimatter and the electron matter. Look, this is just a basic principle. There are different versions of this, but take this one as the main version of this. So this is what was sort of shown to me in the woods that day. And I realized that this was the principle of creation at every single level of the universe. It's just different versions of it. So from an atom to you can even say a chakra, to a planet, to a star, it's all following the same basic pattern. Now, once this creation, the matter and the antimatter, don't worry too much about the C region, C squared region. Once that, the creation of those particles, which are mirror images of each other, the two also can recombine to form light again in the form of gamma ray bursts. So you have this kind of breathing process at the edge of a black hole. And it happens, as I said, at every single level of the universe. So the light comes from the infinity point, splits into matter and antimatter, and then can recombine again. So you have that breathing, and it happens at every single level of the universe. So so you can see this happening in the form of intermittent bipolar jets. So these jets that are coming either side of a galaxy, you can see the signature point of the black hole principle. So one of the main emissions is gamma rays. Sometimes it's X-rays. Sometimes you see positrons. Sometimes you see positron and electron spirals coming out of these galaxies. So this is the sort of thing we want to see if this is correct, that the black hole principle happens at every single level. We do indeed see these bipolar jets even around stars. There was actually a recent article just in the last few days about micro supernovae, I think they called it, but small stars like white dwarfs and things are also giving off these jets, and that was totally unexpected. But if you know what to expect because of the black hole principle, this doesn't become unexpected for you. It's the mainstream scientists don't know what's going on. When they see jets coming out of stars that they don't think should have jets, and these are very powerful as well, they don't understand what's going on. It's powerful because it's energy that's coming from higher dimensions. It's not coming from our dimension, it's the flow through, and that's another puzzle. Why are these things so powerful? Even see these bipolar jets around planets as well, and even at the sort of quark level. So you're seeing this sort of signature pattern of the black hole principle, bipolar jets. It's giving off sometimes gamma rays, sometimes X-rays, sometimes antimatter, and there's different types as well, but we'll stick to that main type for now, because it just is going to be our basic pattern. And you can see that the jets are still a mystery for the mainstream. They still can't figure out why these black holes are giving off these bipolar jets here. And one of the things that happen, I'm just giving the matter-antimatter photon cycle. So you're seeing this particle of light, a photon, split into an electron and a positron, and then come back again into a photon. So that's basically what's happening at the edge of at the black hole, and that's what's powering it. So in terms of the light, often it's in the form of a gamma ray burst. So we see this in our Milky Way as well. These are the two jets being captured by a gamma ray telescope. So can you see those two jets there? This is our own Milky Way galaxy. As these jets are spiraling, they're circumscribing these big bubbles. I mean, it's obvious, but people have no idea what's causing it, which you can see in the bottom quote there, the puzzling that's going on about it. They have no idea what's happening. So once you know the black hole principle becomes very, very obvious. I just want to put this up about the Milky Way's black hole burped out two colossal X-ray bubbles, because often they can't figure out what's going on. Their paradigm is all violence, it's all collisions, it's all explosions. And when they can't figure things out, it's all devouring. They keep anthropomorphizing things in space. So they say things like guzzling and burping and things like that. They don't understand what's going on, so they do this to things in space. The outflows are a hiccup. Why are we talking about black holes hiccuping and burping? I mean, people do that, not these black holes. So basically it's a natural process, but they don't understand, so they're calling it burping and hiccuping. So having found the gamma ray bubbles around the Milky Way, they then found the X-ray bubbles. These are all the sort of bipolar outflows that we should see. So does the Earth have a central black hole? Sounds like a very odd concept, but that's actually where we see a lot of the evidence for black hole principal activity around the Earth, actually. And if you think of one of the more obvious examples, what do we see around the poles of the Earth? If you've got a bipolar jet sort of coming out of the Earth, we see discharges of particles, and we call them the aurora borealis and australis. And these aurorae actually happen at the same time. It's not that common that you hear that all the time, but as the central black hole of the Earth is basically discharging in a bipolar jet, you get these aurorae. So we see this in seismic activity as well. Earthquakes, volcanoes are known to have lightning associated with them. Now, lightning is a very fast discharge of electrons. You can see the spiral plumes there. So black hole principle is about spiral geometry. And why are the electrons so fast? Because they've only just slowed down to the speed of to below the speed of light. They've only just slowed down to what I mentioned. If you remember the very first slide I put up, it said they're 99% the speed of light. That's because they've only just slowed down. So that's why the lightning is so fast. And amazingly, we started to find these terrestrial gamma ray flashes. So this is looking at the upper atmosphere of the planet, our planet. And we found these terrestrial gamma ray flashes in thunderstorms and all these jets and things like that. Amazingly, they named them often after the fairy realms. They named them things like sprites and elves and things like that, which is quite funny. So to their surprise, they found these terrestrial gamma ray flashes, which they call TGFs, which they have admitted are just the same power as galactic black holes out in space. But I think because they feel uncomfortable that they're finding it in thousands of them go off every single day on planet Earth, they're calling them something different. But basically, it's the same thing. So storms are effectively little black holes, just miniature. It's going all the way down. It's a fractal pattern from the central black hole of the Earth to all the way down. Weather systems, volcanoes, and even things that we call things like the Bermuda Triangle and things like that. They had the gravity and antimatter and things like that periodically change. It's not the same all the time, which is why we can't test it going, okay, these weird effects are happening in this sort of area. I think that these sorts of things that we know as Bermuda Triangle and places like that, vile vortices, somebody once called them, I think these are also sites of this sort of behavior. So you're probably thinking, wait a minute, I know how lightning happens. You get ice particles in a cloud and then you get the charges. discharging, then that builds up and then it discharges to the ground. Well, there's something called scientific experiment, and science experiments show that this is impossible to happen like that. There's just not enough static electricity to build up in a cloud, but they don't tell that to the children when they put them in the textbooks, and this is still taught to school children, even though people have died putting weather kites into storms, and yet because they haven't got a better explanation, they still perpetuate this idea that's been disproven, that static electricity in clouds causes lightning. There's nowhere near enough power that can be generated like that. So basically, as time's gone on, we've found more and more interesting things in storms, because there are many black holes. So I published in Pulsars in 2006, and in 2011, antimatter was found in thunderstorms. And just recently, 2019, a Japanese team have actually found that the gamma rays that come in thunderstorms are actually bipolar jets. So not only is it going upwards, it's also going downwards. And recently in 2017, it was published that they have also found TGFs, terrestrial gamma ray flashes, also antimatter, in hurricanes and tropical storms. So I'll just play this.
Convective storms hold an extraordinary surprise. Under just the right conditions, they fire off some of the highest energy light naturally found on Earth, terrestrial gamma ray flashes, or TGFs. In some cases, a surge of electrons rushes toward the upper part of the storm at speeds nearly as fast as light. When deflected by air molecules, these accelerated electrons give off gamma rays, producing a TGF. Observations show they are surprisingly prolific producers of TGFs.
The key for that is this was a surprise. You can hear that they weren't expecting, when they trained a gamma ray telescope on our planet, that they discovered terrestrial gamma ray flashes in tropical storms and things like that. But let me just see. Okay, so basically this is, again, this is about antimatter being found, gamma rays in tropical storms. So this is not something that they were expecting, but if you know the black hole principle, you know that this is something that you can expect. Basically, our weather is, if you look at even the BBC weather report, just have a look and you'll see spirals on spirals on spirals that are all moving around, and basically wind is at the edge of these spirals, and so you can see these patterns once you know what to look for. So interestingly, when I started to look into this, I'm not a meteorologist. I don't know anything about that line. I'm trained as a medical doctor. So it was a shock to me to find out that meteorologists don't know how it rains. So they don't know how clouds actually, some clouds rain and some clouds don't. That's a quote from New Scientist. So it is a mystery. So how can we talk about climate change when we don't actually know the first thing about weather? Like, I know climate is a long-term version, but surely understanding our weather patterns is going to help us to understand climate change. And, if you have only just discovered that there are gamma ray flashes in tropical storms and hurricanes, then what does that say if we don't even understand why it rains, why we have lightning? So suddenly I was actually out in the rain, and I suddenly had a thought, well, if thunderstorms are mini black holes, then do black holes produce water? Which sounds like a really crazy thought, but strangely enough, there's tons of evidence for that. So we started to find water all over space. This is a BBC So these galactic geysers, spewing clouds of water really fast. So do you remember I said that this is a process that's happening just below the speed of light? How that is water, actually H2O, is being produced by the black hole principle. It is an interesting one. There's so much more to go into here, but it is being produced in space. Billion huge reservoir of water has been found in space, so associated with a black hole as well. And and of course, we found space water all over space on the moon, on Enceladus, which is one of Saturn's moons, is just spewing out water jets. This is a comet on the back, on the bottom here, giving off water vapor from the middle. So we think of comets as these dirty snowballs, but actually it's producing its own water. So how's it doing that? So these fine jets are coming out of comets and asteroids, actually. And then, we've got water ice on Mercury. We're finding water on Mars. Amazingly as well, we're finding water coming out of sunspots. So the stars are also doing this sort of behavior, matter, antimatter jets, that we call them sort of solar flares. And don't be fooled by the fact that every single thing that we look at, we give it a different name. It doesn't matter. It's all the same process, whether we call it a pulsar or a star or a solar flare or a aurora borealis. It's all the same process. So basically, this is a sunspot. So as I said, it's fractal on fractals. So sunspots are also little mini black holes, and they're giving off charged particles and also water vapor, would you believe it? And this is another star that's been found shooting water bullets. So, water is coming out from places that you wouldn't expect. So how did all the water get to Earth? Well, we have this idea that, everything is seeded by a comet, and it's just been going around the water cycle ever since. But actually, so this is, I announced in 2013 that the Earth is producing its own water from the central black hole of the Earth. And within a few months, I ended up, this announcement that there's a massive ocean, quote unquote, because it's tied up in rocks, discovered towards the Earth's core. So that was announced just within a few months of me making a big announcement. It wasn't a comet that seeded all the water. It's actually coming from the Earth's core. It's been continuously produced, actually. So now we're starting to solve this, and amazingly, I think it was just two years ago now, I looked at, I found Nexus magazine in the shops, and an article written by a Dr. Robert Gourlay in Australia, and it was talking all about Earth generated water, and I was like, oh my goodness. So I've gone into researching this, and this is a field that's been around for over 100 years, even at one point was nominated for a Nobel Prize. So Stefan Reis was a Austrian miner who realized that in the mines, when there were gushes of water that appeared, this water was a different quality to rainwater that trickled down. And he started to realize that water was coming up from the Earth, not just down in rain. And so he ended up finding over 800 wells in his lifetime using his techniques, and including helping the state of California. He moved to America, and he helped the state of California find water for many, many years. They accepted his water, but they didn't accept his explanation. And he talked about sometimes called primary water or primal water. Professor Lance Endersby, he was a professor in Australia, talking about Australia having this primal water that comes up from the ground. And one of the ways that, and there's bona fide companies who are doing this now, and interestingly, they look for gamma radiation. That's one of the ways that they find the water. It's about gamma radiation. So again, it ties in with the black hole principle. So what I'm talking about here is we've got to change our minds about creation itself, how we're created, how the universe is created, how all the bodies in space, including our own planet and galaxy, are created, because it just doesn't fit the old theories. You know, what I'm talking about is much more of a fit to the actual evidence that we're finding from space. So there is another aspect of this planet that is quite, talked about nowadays, and that is about fossil fuels. And I was watching a documentary about the Gulf of Mexico and a supposed asteroid point. And this is what it said.
Asteroid impact in the Gulf of Mexico could wipe out dinosaurs around the globe. The crater is immense, over half a mile deep and 120 miles wide. Around its edge towers the outer rim, formed by rock ejected from deep within the Earth's crust.
Now, I suddenly caught that. Why would the edge of an asteroid crater have rock from deep within the Earth's crust? And I thought, that doesn't sound like it's an impact, because nothing of the asteroid is left, yet it's made this impact to wipe out strong enough to supposedly wipe out the dinosaurs. That sounds like it's coming upwards, not that it's coming downwards, that it's coming upwards, and that if the ridge of this crater has stuff from the interior of the Earth. And I thought, hang on a minute, this whole program was really a lot about the oil that was in the Gulf of Mexico. And I started to wonder, and I thought, what if the black hole principle creates oil and coal and what we know as fossil fuels? Because what we're told, of course, is that, you know, you have these plants, it goes all swampy, you give it lots of time, and you get coal. And same with the ocean, you've got millions of years, it builds up all this plankton and sea creatures and things like that. And then you have oil. Actually, we don't often talk about the fact that they're found together, plus with helium at the top of these deposits, which is not a biologically active molecule. So I started to wonder, is oil produced by black holes? And if it is, then there should be oil and coal in space. Sounds absolutely nutty, but actually there's lots of oil and coal in space. So this idea that oil and coal comes from trees and plankton and things like that doesn't make any sense, because nobody's found any trees or plankton in huge amounts in space. So, you know, Titan has so much, it's just an oil field basically. And methane, there are methane jets happening on Mars. As you can see, it's a mystery. People honestly started to talk about the Mars rover farting because they didn't understand where it was coming from. I mean, you just have to shake your head in disbelief at these people. These are mainstream scientists actually talking like that. So as you can see, kerogen, which is like crude oil, has been found on Mars. And I've actually been in a Open University meeting where they actually said that they've actually found coal on Mars as well now. So it's not just on the planets. You can actually see grease coming out of galactic centers, found a mega ocean of oil on the other side of the universe. And a researcher in Hong Kong have found coal and kerogen, like crude oil, coming out of stars. Now, not many people would say that trees exist on stars. So why is it that coal, and this Hong Kong researcher is puzzling as to why is it that coal is coming out of stars? So yeah, the other thing that we associate with coal, of course, is diamonds. And we get our diamonds from these kimberlite structures, these jets that are, well, are giving the game away. I think they are basically remnants of bipolar jet energy, and the diamonds are actually produced by the black hole principle as well. So if I'm right, then we should find diamonds in space, and there's tons of diamonds in space, and including it rains diamonds on Neptune and Uranus, and comes out of stars. You can see a moon-sized diamond actually in space. So the core is diamond, which is key because it's coming from the center. So just recently, I don't know if anybody saw New Scientist, it was talking about these earth blobs, which we've known about for quite a long time, but they suddenly hit the headlines. These two earth blobs that are found near the center of the earth, and they're coming out beneath Africa and beneath the Pacific Ocean, and associated with the volcanoes of Hawaii. So something explains, because they believe that volcanoes are caused by this idea of tectonic plates and things like that. But Hawaii is in the middle of one of these plates, so they didn't really understand what was going on. Now they're thinking they can see the association of these plumes with Hawaii volcanoes, so these sort of bipolar jets. And so they also see the association with diamonds. Again, you can see this, it's a complete mystery to mainstream scientists. Just a little nod to Thomas Gold. He was a physicist who talked about the upwelling theory of fossil fuels, didn't talk about the black hole principle, but the upwelling theory. And it's Russian and Ukrainian scientists have long said that oil and gas and coal does not come from fossils. It is abiotic, as in it doesn't need biology. But a lot of their papers are not published in English, so that's one of the reasons why it's not a common idea in other countries. So, and just a little quote as well from people who actually work in oil fields. They know that oil fields fill up again. So if they wait long enough, it'll flow like black rivers beneath, and all we have to do is chase the current. That's a seasoned engineer in the oil fields. So people know that oil fields fill back up again. So that doesn't make any sense if it takes millions of years to do that. So what I'm talking about is really a unity of Earth processes. And really it's all, linked to all of space. So we have this one black hole principle process that is gently creating from beyond the speed of light, bringing everything into what we call 3D, below the speed of light. And we are in this dynamic process, this breathing process with all of that. And when it comes to us as well, how many times do we talk about chakras being spirals that are creating the organs of the body? That's just one of the forms of healing. We focus on chakras, and we know that it affects the energy field of the body. And we've been able to measure piezoelectrical fields around the chakras as well. Valerie Hunt and people have done various research on this. And also with DNA, we know that DNA winds and unwinds and gives off light. There's some research that's been done there. So we're looking to more of a universal source of creation. You've got the universe inside you. This is a fractal pattern that's going down to the atom and the quark, as I showed. And, we need to revive the chakras and interdimensional. Basically, they're the same as a black hole in space, just smaller, but giving off the same sort of light and everything, just not in this dimension necessarily, which is why clairvoyance and people who can see into different dimensions can actually visualize chakras. And of course, if you remember Professor Harry Oldfield, who's just recently passed away, he had the PIP equipment, which was able to pick up chakras. So he didn't know what chakras were, and he was able to find that, even not knowing what they're supposed to be. So if you'd like to know more, I'll just play this if I can. Oh, it might be a bit loud. So I have an online course called Simply Divine. If you want to go more into the science and spirituality, looking at how black holes can affect you. You also get a year's membership to the Conscious Science Club, which is a live Zoom every single month, and a forum and a blog and everything. So if you want to know more about all these ideas, I've got Punk Science TV, got loads of different episodes of that. That's at punkscience.com, and drmanjir.com/SD will take you straight to the Simply Divine, and use the coupon Limitless. Make sure that you, if you want to buy this course, if you're in the UK, make sure you choose pounds, UK pounds, and that you put the coupon code in. If you in the US, you choose your own currency. And so basically that's my gift to you. Hopefully, if you want to know more, you can join me on that. So I look forward to hopefully seeing you in the Conscious Science Club.